All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us yet again. We are doing yet another exclusive with South by Southwest, and I'm excited to have our next guest, on tap for you guys. They are here to talk about Ella, the digital assistant known as Ella. So it is my pleasure to welcome the representative to be able to chat further about this personalized assistant, none other than Linda Buscemi. Let me bring her on now. Hi,
Hey,
Linda. How are
hi.
you?
I'm well, Brandon. How are you?
Good, good, good. So, first and foremost, here we are, first weekend of South by Southwest. How has the show been treating you thus far?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, there's so many different types of technology that's here, so many different kinds of, things that people are bringing to market in all different kinds of industry. Of course, we're focused on the healthcare industry, and it's just really everybody's been gracious and just really wanting to understand, what we're doing to help caregivers and especially the dementia and Alzheimer's space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's, dive right into that, and talking about having those tools necessary to be able to support our caregivers of, such patients. So, can you talk a little bit about that? I teased it a little bit, tried to punt it off to you a bit of discussing further of what you're doing with Ella. So can you, go into some more detail about that?
I can, just briefly, just kind of give the perspective to everybody. I mean, someone every 3 seconds gets diagnosed with a form of dementia. That's not even counting the other types of cognitive disorders that folks unfortunately get diagnosed with, and coupling with that, the caregiver shortage. There's just a lot of. It's very difficult to find caregivers in this space as well. And so what we did was created a platform and an application called Ella, where we actually elevate caregiving and really helping caregivers who are managing folks that have dementia. And unfortunately, they end up having some, we call them reactions, not behaviors. Some people call them behaviors, but we give them information, approaches, and interventions to prevent those behaviors, reactions from even occurring in the first place.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So in speaking to that, in terms of the the product that you guys have, and talking about how we are in a landscape right now where a lot of things are um, in a virtual capacity, and you don't necessarily have to be there in person, to be able to take care of a lot of the common needs that we have. Can you talk briefly about that, and then going in depth a little further into that of ensuring that we are still providing that necessary care,
Hmm.
even if it's not in the capacity that we may be accustomed to of being in person.
Yeah, I think so. Exactly, and I think there's a lot of that. And we need that because of that caregiver shortage. What we're trying to do is, provide this tool for someone who has, let's say they're resisting changing their clothes or resisting showering because they don't remember how to do it and they don't know what you're saying. Oftentimes, as a caregiver, you have empathy and you want to care for that person. So you're, come on, it's time to do it. We really want to help you, and you're really trying to get them from a logical space to do it. And unfortunately, they have problems thinking, so they can't rationalize to say, "Oh yeah, it's time for my shower." Well, there's a lot of non-pharmaceutical types of interventions that are out there to help people um, learn how to better approach someone, but it's very expensive, it's very time consuming, and we want to take the guessing out of it because as an example, because there's so many different kinds of cognitive deficits, it affects different parts of the brain. So, as an example, Alzheimer's, the very first symptom that you will see is memory loss, which everybody would suspect short term memory loss. But something like vascular dementia is more having issues processing as opposed to memory.
Sure.
Frontal temporal and Lewy bodies. I mean, all these different kinds of dementia affect different parts of the brain, but that's really complex. So when you're talking about a caregiver who really just wants to help someone, they want to care for someone. That's a lot of information to understand. And then to your point, you want to personalize that information. The more we can personalize the intervention with someone who has this type of cognitive deficit, the more apt that we're actually able to get the person to comply with the necessary treatments or the necessary care that they need, such as taking medication, such as taking a shower, things like that. And what Ella does is it looks at all of these different variables, what their diagnosis is, what their background is, and when they do resist or refuse a particular care, Ella looks at all the information and then provides the intervention, such as maybe approach that person from the left-hand side, because if you approach them from the right, they're actually blind in the right eye and they might hit you because they're afraid, right? It's a natural reaction to
Right.
to be cautious. And
Right.
we actually that's how we actually personalize, is really understanding the needs of the individual.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I understand that yesterday you were a part of South by Southwest Pitch.
Mhm.
However, I want to, for those who weren't, didn't have that luxury of being there yesterday, can you talk a little further about, when we can expect, an expansion of seeing, what Ella is, capable of?
Yeah, we are fortunate enough. We are actually commercial already. We're in 4 different states and about 70 different units. So we have about 1,000 residents, clients on our platform.
Awesome.
So what that means is that we're in assisted living, memory care, nursing facilities, and we just got our first. We're actually about to get our second home care client, and what that is that's where caregivers go into the home and help people, with their ADLs, which is activity of daily living, changing their clothes, bathing them, doing some housekeeping, things like that. We're actually going to provide Ella to that population as well. So we're
Gotcha.
already live. We're already doing really well. We're showing our value proposition of, look, if you can actually approach someone the right way, um, then you can actually decrease the need for psychotropic medication. Because unfortunately, that's what happens is, they're refusing, they're hitting me. Well, they're hitting you for a reason. There's a reaction that's coming from that person. And as opposed to figuring out what that is, because it's, like I said, it's very complex. Ella can now help you. But prior to Ella, what would they do? They would push psychotropic medication to kind of, uh, you know, calm them down, shall we say, even though it really doesn't necessarily work. It just sedates them, unfortunately.
Absolutely, absolutely. Switching gears a second, to close off before before you head off, is outside of the commitments obviously that you have here at South by Southwest. I'm
Mhm.
sure, hopefully, I'm assuming there's going to be some time for some leisure and to be able to enjoy some components of the show of on your own, seeing that there's so many different things that are available at the show, whether it's in technology, whether it's with film, music, what have you. So
Mhm.
with all of that said, are there going to be some things that you are looking forward to enjoy over the course of this week? Maybe it's already happened, you've already dedicated that time, or perhaps it's going to happen a little later into the week.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely, we have seen a couple really cool documentary films, and there's some things on from different universities out here. So yeah, I mean, I think enjoying the space, understanding our industry a bit more on what's happening with technology is really incredible to see. We feel very fortunate that nobody, ironically, is in our space. So that helps us in having some really good partnerships on trying to help the aging population, and hopefully aging folks at home. So yeah, it's an incredible event, and
All right.
very we feel very fortunate that we are actually chosen to present.
Outstanding. Well, Linda, thank you so much for squeezing in some time. I really do appreciate it. Before I let you go, can you tell folks perhaps where they can get further information, perhaps website, or even if we're talking social media, where people can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's Taproot Ella, so TAPROOT, and then Ella ELLA .com. Again, we do Taproot because we tap into the long-term memory, so that's where Taproot came from, and Ella comes
Love
from
it.
that we want to elevate caregiving. So taprootella.com.
Excellent, excellent. well, there you guys have it. I want to thank Linda so much for, hopping on and, talking all the awesome stuff, that she is doing over at South by Southwest. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.